So this is 4.5 day 2, hypotenuse leg, and we're kind of continuing here in our 4.5 notes on page 14 at the top. And basically all of these, even though they're called leg-leg congruence, hypotenuse angle congruence for right triangles, these are the same thing as side angle side, side angle side, angle angle side. So you don't need to change their name to any of these. And then this one would be angle side angle. But this last one we haven't had a name for, and this one we have a hypotenuse and we have a leg. So this one we are going to use HL. And you just have to make sure that you have a right triangle when you use HL. But the rest of those you don't need to use the one that they're giving in the textbook. You can use side angle side because that's basically exactly what it is. So really in this one we're just going to focus on this last reason here. So we're going to determine if we can use hypotenuse leg for our congruence. So remember to mark anything that we have that's reflexive, and also remember to mark anything that's vertical angles, or if we have parallel lines, alternate interior, those kinds of things that we can mark in our picture without anything else. So now we have a hypotenuse, we have our H, and then we have a leg, we have our L. So yes, we can use HL. Over here, we have a leg, but we don't have the hypotenuse, and we can't just mark this and this because they're not sharing that. So this one is no. We need another side, or because if we had another side, we could do side angle side, but or we need an angle of the triangle so that we could do any one of those, but we definitely need the hypotenuse if we want to use hypotenuse leg. Otherwise we need another side or another angle to use one of these three. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to have you fill in the given. We're going to do a given here, and then a given here, because it's not going to all fit, so then we'll just add a number 7 for our what we're trying to prove. So the given down here, let's go ahead and do that last one because it's just not going to fit up in there, and it makes a little more sense to have it down here. So go ahead and fill in the other two givens up here, and then what we're trying to prove for number 7. All right, so here's what we have so far. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this means. AB is perpendicular to BC, so that is going to form some right angles here, and then so you can go from there to the right angles, or we can do that BC is congruent to BC, that they're sharing this side here, because this triangle's kind of laying on top and this triangle's kind of laying down, and they're sharing BC. So BC is congruent to BC. And then these right angles are formed here, so let's go ahead and talk about that those angles are right angles. So angle ABC and angle DCB are right angles. So this was reflexive. And then this one was our definition of perpendicular. And then we have our number 4. That one is, well, all right angles are congruent. So we could put that ABC is congruent to angle DCB because of all right angles are congruent. So we now have a side and an angle, and then it's given that AC, this segment right here, is congruent to BD, so this segment here. So we have a side and an angle and a side. But look at, it's not in the right order, is it? And that's not an included angle. So it's a side and a side, but this would have to be this little teeny angle here. So we can't use that as our reason. And again, it spells our bad word if we go another way, but if we know we have a right angle, oh, this is the hypotenuse and this is the leg. So we can actually use hypotenuse leg as a reason for triangle ABC congruent to triangle DCB. And if the triangles are congruent, then its parts that are corresponding are congruent by CPCTC. So let's go ahead and determine, are these able to use hypotenuse leg or something else maybe? So on this first one, it says determine if each pair of triangles is congruent. If yes, tell which postulate or theorem. So it looks like we have angle and then a side and an angle. So yes. Angle, side, angle, or leg angle, if you want to think of it like that. But again, I like just these original kind of ones. So it looks like we have an angle and an angle and an angle. Is that a reason? No. Here, let's mark our reflexive. So that's a hypotenuse and that's a leg. So we do have an HL. So yes, HL. Again here, reflexive. This is the hypotenuse, this is the leg. It is a right triangle. Make sure you double check that it's a right. And so yes, again, hypotenuse leg, but only if it's a right triangle will that work. Here, reflexive, and it's a right triangle, and we have the hypotenuse, we have a leg. So again, yes, hypotenuse leg can be used. So for these, we're going to mark our picture kind of to show what each of them kind of would be. So for definition of congruent triangles that are congruent, we have all angles are congruent and all sides are congruent. So that would mean this one and this one and this one. It looks like those are actually kind of the same there. And then our angles. So kind of isosceles here. So these would be congruent. And then this one would be congruent to its top one up there. All right, side, side, side means all sides are congruent. So that would mean this one and this one and this one would be congruent here. And then side angle side, which means we have two sides, and included angle are congruent. And it has to be that angle that is congruent. So like this, and then the one between the two sides, and then this, and then the one between the two sides. All right, then we've got angle, side angle. So two angles and the included side congruent. And then, mark it on this one. And then we have our angle, angle, side. So two angles and unincluded side are congruent. So that would be two angles and then a side, not between. And then that would look like this. And then our last one's our hypotenuse leg, which we know we have to have a right angle. So let's put our right angle in there. So hypotenuse leg in right triangle. All right, so here's our, let's just pick a leg, and then we have to have our hypotenuse. There we go.